Okay, everyone, it is 5 o'clock. Let's go ahead and call this meeting to order. We do have an item on the agenda as information only. Would any of my fellow board members like to hear this item? Hearing none, we'll go on to our consent items. We are going to need to take these individually. I will call for a vote on consent item A. Do I have a motion to approve? I have a motion. Do I have a second? A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, consent item 3B. Do I have a motion to approve? Motion to approve. Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Folks on the phone, this is on item 3B. I didn't hear. Did you both say aye?
Aye, yes.
Yes.
Great. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 3C. I believe we have an individual recusing themselves from this item. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, we've got board member Vera is recusing herself from this item. Do I have a motion to approve consent item 3C? I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you so much. Okay, we're also going to pull agenda item 5A out of order. We'll return to agenda item 4 after the presentation on item 5A. I'll turn it over to Director Aguilar. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, Madam Chair, members of the Parks Board. We're happy today to have with us the Arts and Culture Department Director, Mitch Menchaca, who we only have how many more days, Mitch? 2 more days, who will be leaving the city to Ohio. But if you recall, we piloted a partnership between the Parks Department and the Arts and Culture Department to transfer management and oversight of some arts and cultural facilities to the portfolio of the Arts and Culture Department. We're here to provide the board with an update on that. And with that, I will turn it over to Mitch.
All right. Good evening, Chair Dalton and members of the board. As Director Aguilar mentioned, I'm Mitch Menchaca, Arts and Culture Director, and I'm thankful to be here today to discuss the permanent transition of several parks properties to arts and culture. There you go. So arts and culture and parks and recreation have a rich history of working together. Since my department's inception, it was actually housed under the Parks and Recreation Department. But most recently, we have had an amazing partnership around Sombra, an innovative public art project developed to address extreme urban heat in Phoenix. Arts and Culture was a winner of a $1 million grant from the Bloomberg Philanthropy Public Art Challenge. This project showcased the extraordinary solutions that arise when artists partner with civic leaders and partners like Parks and Recreation. And this image is actually one of the Sombra pieces that was at Cortez Park in District 1. I hope you all had an opportunity to go see the Sombra projects. It will be archived at sombraphx.org, and I hope you have the opportunity to visit that site. In relation to the pilot year of cultural facility management, we've had a successful year. Obviously, there have been some growing pains in the first year. Still, we have achieved success in helping these new partners through stronger technical assistance, staff support, and leveraging support in programming partnerships and fundraising. Actually, the Shemer Art Center a couple of weeks ago hosted the Arizona Community Foundation for a donor event. Many of those had not been to the Shemer Art Center, and it was a great way to showcase that. We've also installed new fencing around the Sidivaki Museum and Parks of Four Waters. We've replaced the exterior doors at the Shemer Art Center to improve security, secured funding to add air conditioning to the upper floors of Tovry Castle, managed the $1.1 million bond project to upgrade the 3rd Street Theater at the Phoenix Center for the Arts. And next year, we have secured over $1 million in major maintenance projects from Public Works to help a few of these properties. The Arts and Culture Department is the federally designated local arts agency, or LAA, for Phoenix. We champion, promote, and support the city's arts and cultural community. We are recognized as a model LAA by Bloomberg Philanthropies. Our services include grants and resources for artists and organizations, public art administration, and management of cultural facilities. We currently manage 7 of our own permanent facilities: Arizona Opera, Ballet Arizona, the Children's Museum, the Black Theater Troupe, Phoenix Art Museum, Phoenix Theater, and the Valley Youth Theater. As mentioned earlier, in 2024, the Parks and Recreation Board approved a 1-year pilot regarding the transition of facility management of 5 cultural facilities, including the Phoenix Center for the Arts, the Sidivaki Museum, Shemer Art Center, Thunderbird Art Center, and Tovry Castle. Just to refresh the board on the properties, the Phoenix Center for the Arts is located at 1202 North 3rd Street, and it's operated by Central Arts Alliance. It provides over 300 annual classes of all sorts. It's currently under a 10-year agreement that commenced in 2027, as approved by the Parks Board. It produces an annual festival in December, and this Friday, from 6 to 8 p.m., they are holding a reception to celebrate the completion of their bond project, and we would love for you to attend if your calendars permit, so we'll make sure to get that information over to Cynthia and team. The Thunderbird Art Center, which is located at 1101 East Grovers, is also operated by Central Arts Alliance, so it's its North Campus. It also provides year-round classes for youth and adults. It's currently under a 5-year extended agreement, which the Parks Board agreed to in 2021. And we're excited to announce that there is full-time programming happening at the Thunderbird Art Center. And we've actually working with Parks and Recreation on some after-school programming that can also happen there to liven up the space. Next is the Tovry Castle on East Van Buren Street and is operated by the Tovry Carraro Society. The castle was constructed in 1928 by Alessio Carraro and acquired by the city in 1983. It opened to the public in 2012, and the society offers guided tours that focus on the historical aspects, and those tickets sell out quickly. It's a point of pride and on the National Register of Historic Places. This fall, the Tovry Carraro Society celebrated the completion of the Carraro Cottage and the Caretaker's House, which were recreated thanks to an investment from the Parks and Recreation Department. You will have the opportunity to see them the next time you're out at the property. There's a current 10-year agreement that commenced in 2018 by the Parks Board. The Shemer Art Center is located on East Camelback Road and is operated by the Shemer Art Center and Museum Association. Professional artists provide year-round instruction in drawing, painting, printmaking. It hosts numerous special events, and actually the Shemer Honors was last weekend, one of their biggest fundraisers, and they had much success with that. They're under a current 10-year agreement, which commenced in 2020, approved by the Parks Board. And then the 5th and final property is the Sidivaki Museum, located on Washington Street. It is the only owned and operated cultural facility by the city of Phoenix, formerly the Pueblo Grande Museum. It has been owned and operated by the city since 1924. Sits on the archaeological site showcasing ancestral Otham architecture. There are 3 exhibit galleries and diverse programs for all ages. Mark your calendars for the 48th annual Sidivaki Museum Indian Market, December 13th and 14th. This event features over 100 top Native American artists vending their craft, and we are excited to welcome you and the community to that. It has been a pleasure working with our new partners and staff, and again, we are still having learning moments, but it was, I feel, a successful pilot year, and we are excited to welcome them permanently to arts and culture if the Parks Board permits, and again, to continue providing that technical assistance, staff support, and trying to leverage our networks for those communities. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Brandy and Cynthia for a motion and also to answer any questions.
Thank Madam Chair, members of the board. And so our request for action is to request the board's approval of the permanent transition of the facility management of the 5 cultural facilities managed by Parks and Recreation to the Arts and Culture Department. And with that, we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you. Thank you for your presentation. Do any of my fellow board members have any questions or comments? Board Member Moya?
Wrong one.
There you go.
Congratulations, Mitch.
Thank
You're
you.
doing the job. It's exciting. So I know when we had this project, I had that similar question, so I'll ask the similar question again. So when we say we're going to hand over or turn over these facilities permanently, what does that mean? Does that mean budgets? Does that mean people? Does that mean just physical facilities? So that's my first question.
Thank you, Chair Dalton, Member Moya, and members of the board. Yes, that means that the assets will permanently transfer. The staff of the Sidivaki and the groundskeeper that roves some of those other facilities, as well as the physical assets. There is an MOU that would be signed between Cynthia and myself if the Parks Board approves, and so then they would become permanent assets of the Arts and Culture Department.
Thank you. My other quick question was the same I asked a year ago. What was defined as success? Why are we back here making this motion?
I feel success has been determined by arts and culture being able to speak the same language as those other facilities, understanding the needs of, for instance, the Sidivaki Museum. We have several staff who have worked in previous museums, understand the issues and ins and outs of the museum, and really can advocate both internally and externally, and able to do that with the other partners. Phoenix Center for the Arts, with their theater bond project, some staff, including myself, speak theater. And so we're able to really get them the right equipment and the right products and the right projects. Also, we work with other arts nonprofits in a deep way and have been able to help them in a non-facility way with some issues with board and fundraising. And so just that the organizations have been shown us gratitude and have been excited to be within arts and culture for us has been successful. I think the metrics there have been that we've been able to do a lot with a little with the budgets, and also delve into work with Public Works and the city manager and budget and research to find money. That fence at the Sidivaki Museum, for some reason we were able to find $1 million. And because it was a fire life safety issue. And so we have the same connections with some of our other properties. And we just hosted our second annual jamboree of all the cultural facilities where the mayor was able to attend, where they get to come together and share common interests and challenges and success. And for instance, Shemer was able to find some jewelry cases for an exhibition that they're currently doing now. So we just feel that the synergies of arts and culture, along with being able to be a little bit scrappier and speaking the arts language, has been what's led to the success.
And Board Member Moya, members of the Parks Board, if I could add, I concur with everything Mitch has said. And also the level of oversight that Mitch and his team are able to provide, which with a smaller portfolio of facilities than what one of the largest park systems entails, has really been beneficial. And I know he has dedicated team to be able to work with the liaisons from each of these facilities. And that is something that we also struggled with over the years, just because of how large our parks and recreation facility inventory is. And I know that's been a big support for these organizations.
Thank you. One last question, if you don't mind. And I'm going strictly off the memory, and that fails me sometimes. But were we talking about the Shemer expanding, or am I missing? Didn't we mention that maybe a year ago or something, that they were having difficulty? Is that?
Board Member Moya and members of the Parks Board, I do know that they have intentions to expand and improve their site. So over the years, we have come to the Parks Board with their fundraising and capital kind of plans on more than one occasion. So that is probably what you are recalling.
Great, thank you. That's all.
Just a quick question before I turn it over to Board Member Bustamante. I know there's going to be a memorandum of understanding that's going to be produced if this receives approval. There are some existing agreements in place that won't run out until, I guess, some of them were in 10-year agreements that started in 2018, 2019. Will that MOU need to come back to the Parks Board or any other entity for approval? Or is that just something that's executed internally?
At this, Madam Chair, members of the Parks Board, at this point, with the inventory of the asset actually transitioning to the Arts and Culture Department, I wouldn't see that it would need to come to the Parks and Recreation Board, as it wouldn't fall under your authority any longer as not a park asset.
It would actually have to go to City Council for their approval.
Got it. Thank you.
Welcome.
Board Member Bustamante.
Thank you, Chairman Dalton. This is all very exciting. And so I'm just gonna jump into it and make a motion for the approval of the permanent transition of facility management of 5 cultural facilities managed by Parks and Recreation to Arts and Culture, but only if Mitch, you stay. I remember your first day. As
Then the
at
motion
company.
fails.
Didn't I? But also I think this is an amazing match made in heaven. And everything, you can tell how passionate you are about the arts community having access to have space in so many ways. And you nailed it for the standpoint of, I mean, no disrespect for Parks and Rec, but I don't know if some theater kids should be running the golf course. You know what I mean? It's like golf talk. I mean, there's probably a lot of crossover, but all that to
We
say
can
is,
do anything.
yes, there it is. But I think this is a great case study if we can continue on and figure out how to do it like this. I mean, what an amazing, for the 5th largest city in the United States of America to have to really show that the City of Phoenix Office of Arts and Culture isn't just public art in the right of way. You know, this is pretty awesome. So that's what I want to say. And thank you for everything you have done.
Thank you.
All right,
You
so
and your staff.
I'm sorry. We have a motion. Do we have a second for
I'll
approval?
second.
I have a motion for approval and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, we will now go back to item 4A, Parks Master Plan Update.
Madam Chair, members of the Parks Board, we are very happy to be here today with our consultant that has been facilitating the master plan process with Pros Consulting. Mike is here with us, and he's going to be covering a lot of good information tonight. It's been a little while since you've heard an update on the process, and today he's got great information on what we've been hearing from the community in these last several months, well over a year now, really, of data collection and kind of what the next steps and timeline looks like. I'd also like to take an opportunity to thank Felicita Mendoza, who is our Special Projects Administrator. She is our Parks Department lead for the master plan. And again, Mike is our consultant, and we're happy to have him. I will turn it over to him.
Great. Thank you so much. Appreciate the opportunity to be here to give you a pretty good update regarding the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. So just kind of a quick agenda item. Agenda overview. I'm just going to kind of hit through the master plan process. We'll talk a little bit about the key findings associated with the park assessments. Spend much of the presentation diving into the community engagement and the themes that we have seen come out of the community engagement and many of the different processes that we have stepped into, and then talk a little bit about next steps and obviously take any questions, concerns, comments, suggestions that you all have. So the master plan, there's a lot on this screen, but we are currently kind of in the current conditions phase. We are wrapping up park assessments. We are wrapping up the community engagement component, and the fun stuff really will start to happen in the strategic integration. We'll talk a little bit about that towards the end. But we are pretty much at the top of the mountain, and we're going to be able to really start to roll that, boulder downhill pretty quickly with regards to the master plan as we get into the first of the year. Park assessment. So these were done, a handful of parks across the system that are representative of what exists in the flatland parks, as well as good geographic distribution. When we think about park assessments, we often think about them through the lens of condition. And yes, that was a component of this, but we also looked at it through the lens of access. We looked at it through the lens of safety and crime prevention through environmental design. We looked at it through the lens of shade. And we looked at it through the lens of functionality. In other words, does the park function well? Or is the restroom 1 mile away from the playground, for example? We really kind of did a good deep dive with regards to this. And here are some of the strengths that came up. There's a strong variety of good active recreation amenities across the system that provide good quality experiences. There are mature trees and natural shade. It does exist in some parks, but not everywhere. There's a good selection of gathering spaces such as ramadas. We do have as I mentioned, high overall functionality and space utilization. And there are many parks that have unique character and or a distinctive identity. In terms of opportunities for improvement, the support assets, benches, trash cans, bike racks, signage are consistently in poor condition. Shade deficiency, though we do have mature trees in some parks, across most of them, shade deficiency is definitely a system-wide problem. Safety perception is very much compromised by homeless presence and visibility issues. So it's not just homelessness. It certainly has a lot to do with how the parks are designed, how well people can see through the park, so that there's not necessarily hiding places. Access connectivity are inconsistent. This is not only in terms of people accessing the park from, across the street, their neighborhoods, and so on and so forth, but it's also how you get around within the park. And then asset and amenity replacement, playgrounds, ramadas, restrooms is very much needed. That's the themes that we came out of the park assessments. I think you're going to see some commonalities as we start to dive into community engagement. So this is community engagement opportunities by the numbers so far. 98 different events were attended, exposing the Parks and Recreation Master Plan to tens of thousands of people. We had a interactive mapping engagement exercise, over 4,500 contributions, statistically valid survey, 1,100 households, over almost 8,000 online open-ended master plan website surveys were taken, over 5,500 dotocracy exercise contributions. We'll talk about each one of these, and then of course in-person conversations. So the master plan website, these were really geared towards trying to get people a sense of advocacy and awareness around the master plan. And we not only did a general survey, but we did a youth survey, which really focused on kids ages 6 to 12. Some of the key themes that we saw out of the general survey: parks are an essential city service. I'll repeat that. The general survey indicated that parks are an essential city service. Everyday use, such as walking, exercise, walking a dog, socializing, kind of dominates how people use your parks. Facility needs are only partly met. There is adequacy concerns are real, meaning, it's an okay system, but there are opportunities for improvement, and there are certainly gaps in the system. Such things, and we'll talk about it in a bit, but such things that we've heard are splash pad, dog parks. Parks are really geared around families and family time. So programming and facilities must meet those diverse needs of a very diverse community. When we think about the youth, what the kids said, clean parks and green spaces are most important. Parks are for family time. Community connection around parks is strong. Walking, casual recreation, hanging out are some top uses, and desire for more kind of what we would consider to be unique play features. Every playground doesn't have to feel like it's the same experience, regardless of what park you're in. The interactive mapping. So you see the map there to the left. That are the dots representing where we received contributions from. So you can see a pretty good coverage of the city. Not everywhere, but then again, people don't live everywhere in the city. So we feel this is a pretty strong, diverse group of opinions about the park system. I won't read all of these, but you can see in top to bottom order what the key themes were in terms of how parks could be improved, throughout the city, whether it's paths or splash pads, shade, playgrounds, safety and security came up, trees came up again. You see maintenance and cleanliness, another key theme. Restrooms, not just more of them, but making sure they're clean and consistent and of course, dog park facilities. In terms of dotocracy, this is where people got 3 or 4 dots at the events, at our different public meetings, different centers. Over 5,500 contributions were received. And again, you start to see this is where people really were able to hone in on very specific types of amenities. Swimming pools and tennis courts were at the top of the list, and then kind of followed by pickleball courts, dog parks, splash pads. A lot of the same kind of consistent messaging that we have heard. You see, as you get down towards the bottom, you start to see very niche items such as disc golf and cricket. And then the statistically valid survey. We just received this literally about 10 days ago, so haven't dove into it in great depth, but this is going to be very data-driven. 1,100 households received. Again, you can see the good distribution of where surveys were received from. This was done, people had the opportunity to mail surveys back in. They can do it online. Phone options were available. The survey went out in both English and Spanish. As we said, 1,100 surveys were completed. 1,000 was the goal. If you did this survey 100 times, you would get the same results 95 out of 100 times with a margin of error of just 2.9%. So again, these are just kind of some of the key themes that came out. And you start to see this really consistently throughout the entire community engagement process. But when we think about asking people what are the 4 most important things to them that they would be most willing to fund. So we're not talking about just dreaming here, what they'd be most willing to fund. Those first 7 or 8 items there, you see the word existing coming up quite a bit. And what that key is it's like, take care of what we already have. Make sure that our park experiences are as quality as they can be, and really focus on comfort and safety as it relates to this specific question. Another key theme was kind of closing the awareness gap. What keeps people from participating in programs more often? The number one reason was, I don't know what is offered. The national benchmark is typically, that is the typical highest, and it's usually right around 39%. So you're not that far off, but it is the number one reason by more than double in terms of why people do not participate. So another follow-up question, how would people prefer to be communicated with? Knowing that kind of thought, we don't know what is awareness is an issue. So let's ask people how they want to find out about Parks and Recreation. The city website is number 1. Email blast 2. Facebook, number 3. Banners at parks or city facilities. So you have the top 3 are digital in nature. The 4th one is certainly time-consuming, placement, maintenance, vandalism. But again, that is how people prefer to learn. Friends and neighbors comes in 5th. So you do want people talking about you, but you don't necessarily want people sharing the details of a program or a park, because we've all played the telephone game and you understand how that gets lost in translation. And then number 3, this is kind of a priority ranking. So health, fitness, and gathering spaces. What do people really want out of parks? And you can start to see in here, gathering spaces and picnic. People think about picnic areas and ramadas as a gathering space, but a dog park is a gathering space. Dog parks are as much for people who love dogs as they are for dogs themselves. It's a socialization component. So what you see in the red here, the high priority, means your community wants you to do more of this yesterday. The other thing I want to point out is that there is no low priority on this screen. You usually have a high priority, a medium priority, a low priority. Your community has looked at all of these very specific items that could be a part of your park system, and it's either a high priority or medium priority, not a low priority. When we think about programs and activities, again, no low priorities, but health, fitness, gathering spaces. You can see how these type of programs have a tendency not only to bring people together, but they're very active in nature. So that is kind of a theme that has come out of the statistically valid survey. In-person conversations, we've had a lot of conversations, whether they be public meetings, whether they be focus groups, internal, external, safety and security, construct planned but not yet developed parks. I think we heard that from several of you all as well when we talked to you. There are many areas in the city that have been quote unquote promised a park, but it has not yet been delivered, or phases of a park have not been completed. Restroom cleanliness and general upkeep, more splash pads, dog parks, pickleball courts, shade and access to water, and then safe access connections within and to parks. So I think what you're seeing here is then a lot of the same kind of things, right? Take care of what you already have. Shade, everyday use, self-directed activity, safety, and of course, such things as aquatics, splash pads, dog parks, sport courts really kind of dominate some of those investment priorities. So our jumping off point is to really start to dive into understanding not just the priorities of your community, but what does that mean in terms of investment or reinvestment in existing parks? What we will go through is we will go through what is called a level of service exercise. And we are not going to ground this in an acres per thousand or number of, one, playground for every 3,000 people. We are going to identify different metrics based on access, and not access based on mileage, access based on the amount of time people are going to have to invest in order to get to a splash pad or a dog park. This in turn will really help us understand not only where the gaps are in the system, but where we need to invest. We'll do this with parks, we'll do this with aquatics, we'll do this with centers. But then as we start to dive into those high priority amenities, we will start to dive into those as well. Maintenance, operational assessments, park rangers assessments will be a part of our next phase as well. We are looking to have most, if not all of this wrapped up into the summer of 2026. And like I said, we're going to really start to put some meat on the bone and ensure that we have realistic, implementable, and strategic recommendations that not only reflect the voice of the community, reflect best practices, but also are financially sustainable. So that's kind of where we're at in the process. I appreciate your time. Take any questions, concerns, comments, suggestions that you may have.
Great. Thank you for a great presentation. Just had a few questions before I turn it over to my colleagues on the board. Did you by chance have any demographic information from the folks that responded to the survey? I just noticed that Facebook was one of the ways that they were hoping that they could learn more about the city, and that typically skews older. So I was just wondering if you have any information about.
We do. We have, we can break all kinds of information down. We're going to, in particular around the statistically valid survey, we're going to do what is called cross-tabulation. So we'll not only be able to cross-tabulate based on the household type. Do you have young kids? Are you empty nesters? Are you seniors? Are you young adults without kids yet? Are you, what your race, ethnicity is, income levels? We'll also be able to do cross-tabulation by council district as well. And so there will be a lot of, shall we say, demographic information. One thing I can tell you about the statistically valid survey is that it has to be, in order for it to be statistically valid, demographically and geographically representative of your community. It has to align not just with what you think you know, but what we know from a data perspective. And so as we start to unveil that information, we'll present the statistically valid survey and unroll that for you at a meeting early in 2026.
That's great. Thank you.
Very well.
I know you've done this with other municipalities. In terms of the assessment that you found, was there anything that surprised you?
No, it's funny because we just finished Clark County, Nevada, which is Vegas. Desert environment, a lot of the very same kind of themes. One thing that we did see that differs between Clark County and here is that Clark County has made a considerable leap to ensure that they have a strong asset management program going forward, so that it is really about reinvestment. However, what we typically see across the country, especially since not even COVID, but even going back to the Great Recession in 2008, 2009, 2010, is a lot of communities have suffered from the ability to reinvest in the infrastructure that makes up the park experiences. So I would say Clark County got out in front of that, in about the mid, 2010s, and their system reflects that. But safety, cleanliness, restroom maintenance, access, shade, very, very, very common themes that we saw in just completing that master plan.
My last question is, you said that the response rate was around 22%. Is that typical?
It is. We usually get somewhere between 20 and 25% as it relates to the statistically valid survey response rate.
Great, thank you. Fellow board members, comments, questions? Board Member
Quick-
Moya?
Quick comment. So I guess I could direct it to Director Aguilar. And I think it's great that we've had a lot of this expansion with all the new parks that's been going on. And I know we just approved last month the big one on 99th and Lower Buckeye, which I think is great and much needed. But if we're going off of what I'm hearing today, it's almost like those two are going to be fighting against each other, the expansion and the upkeep. I'm just wondering, if we're looking ahead, how many years before, if we all approve any of this, is this going to be actuality? And how does that intersect or interfere with the growth of what we're going through right now?
Sure, Board Member Moya and members of the Parks Board, that's a great question. Once all this data is collected, we are going to have the information we need to help us prioritize the existing funding that we have. So a majority of the funding that we have comes from the Phoenix Parks and Preserve Initiative sales tax incentive that we know right now is in place till 2038. And we would be in a world of hurt without that. Depends on the year. It could be $30 to $40 million plus every year that comes in through that sales tax initiative. We're expecting a little more now because of the increase in the city's TPT sales tax. So we'll see a little bit more, 6 to 7 million, 8 million maybe a year coming in, or the projection, since that has increased. So it's going to do a few things. It's going to allow us to prioritize that funding. It's going to allow us to apply for additional funding, especially in terms of grant opportunities. It's very hard to submit successful grant applications when we don't have data like this. And if you recall, we have not conducted a system-wide parks master plan since 1988. So we are doing quite a bit of catch up here. That was more of a long-range planning master plan. So to your point, we're going to have to rank and prioritize the community's needs and really look individually, which we will have the information now, at what each community wants, which we know is going to be different. And it is, there are going to be competing interests. We have to find that balance of growth, developing some of these undeveloped parks that we had promised communities for decades in some cases, and then continuing to invest in what we have to what we're hearing a lot of. Some of the 3PI funding has some restrictions on it. We also have impact fees in certain parts of towns, which also has different types of restrictions. So again, the data collection is going to allow us to have what we need to prioritize those funding, that funding that we have now, and try to secure additional funding. I will add, even in the city's budget process, it's hard to advocate for more when we don't have this kind of data. Having this now, making sure the mayor and council are aware of it, is going to be huge for us.
Great, thank you. Because I have been to the grand opening of one of the South Phoenix parks, and I was just recently at the rededication of the new pool. Please remind me of the name of the pool again.
East Lake.
East Lake, thank you. And both carry that same amount of community pride that they are all excited about what they got. And if you haven't been to the new pool at East Lake Park, you got to go because you can actually swim today because it's heated. And I didn't know that. But I think if we're still around, we're going to have it's going to be a tough decision because I think those are two very important priorities. But I hear it loud and clear. I think improvement to the existing parks, because otherwise, if we don't, they're going to go by the wayside, and people aren't going to want to go because they're going to be not functional and not safe. And so I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
If I could add one thing, and I think what's really important why Clark County was so successful is they invested in the staffing capacity that was necessary to manage multiple construction projects. And that allowed them an opportunity to make investments equitably across the entire system at the same time. But it takes people in order to ensure that you can manage that level of construction and reinvestment. Even a playground replacement is a construction project. And so I think that is a component of implementation. And certainly things that we're going to really start to dive into here in the next couple of weeks.
Great, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Go ahead, board member.
So improvements to existing parks is close cousin to the asset management plan. Am I correct on that?
Yes, Board Member Thomas and members of the Parks Board, we currently have a system in place that we use to develop our 5-year capital improvement plan. And so those are our larger projects. And then we have buckets, if you will, of funding that may also be things like lighting improvements, playground replacements, in addition to those larger capital projects.
And then looking at the Clark County plan that you were talking about, you said they were kind of way out in front as far as other systems and doing their asset management. Was there anything that we could possibly borrow or use to improve what we're trying to do as far as not only improving existing parks, but some enhancements to the asset management plan?
Yes, I think it starts with implementation, and I partly what I mentioned just a bit ago is having the staff capacity to do that. The other thing that they did do is that they had a right, wrong, or indifferent. They had an equitable distribution of funds across all of their commissioner districts, and so every commissioner had the same level of investment. Whether in some cases it was just reinvestment, some cases it was expansion, some cases it was both. But that allowed them an opportunity to ensure that no part of that, in particular their urban area, felt like, hey, you know what, this feels like an older park, an older part of the community, and another area which was predicated on growth always felt new because it was new parks. So that was a way that that was a model that they had created. And we consistently kept with that model, but we broke the priorities down between reinvestment and expansion. And then started to prioritize those from there. We weren't trying to redistribute funds so that they had inequity in terms of investment. What we were trying to do is help them prioritize what those specific projects should be and where within each one of their commissioner districts.
Yeah, go ahead.
And then as far as the master plan, is there going to be condition assessments done to existing facilities and things as a part of this plan? And how would that tie into the asset management piece of things?
That was part of what we have done so far. It is not across all 189 parks. However, what we did do is we did have the opportunity to work with city, identify parks that really we thought needed the greatest amount of assessment, and also were representative of your community, both in terms of park type, but also geographical distribution.
Thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Bustamante.
Thank you, Chairman Dalton. I'll just comment and then a question. I've done business in Nevada, in Clark County, wearing my civil engineering hat and infrastructure and public spaces. And let me just tell you, they can make it rain out there and turn around a project like lickety split. So I love everything that you had access to and working out all of that in Clark County. And I would say we have a very respectable purse here, budget to work with. So it'll be interesting to see how much we can level up to that type of degree so that the maintenance is really at the forefront. And I agree with you, Board Member Moya, about just that neighborhood pride of the existing parks. There's like a lot of equity there that needs to happen. And like, it's like a thank you back to the neighbors, right? Who live across the street and adjacently. Can you go back to the slide with the process timeline, please?
This one here.
Yes. So there's a lot going on, which is awesome. So are these the months or are these the phases?
Oh,
the
these
numbers?
are just so what you see there is you see the different color coding associated with it. It's just representative of kind of the different steps.
Okay.
Right.
It's not
so
like
much-
month 1, month 2, month 3, and then a
Yeah.
year.
It's,
So
it's not intended to be 1, 2, 3.
I
in
would
terms
say
of
for
time.
any future updates, if you could give us like rough estimates of time on this process, master plan approach.
What we would love to be able to do is come back in January, February and provide you a lot more nitty gritty around the park assessments, as well as the community engagement, in particular, the statistically valid survey. That will be really strong foundational detailed information. We didn't want to do is start to provide too much shall we say, I don't want to say inadequate, but just not complete, right? The other component is we do have one last public meeting this coming Saturday as well. And so we wanted to make sure that we were complete with our engagement process and felt good about that. Then we intend to, in the spring, be able to come back to you where we start to map that level of service, start to understand what you have historically spent and how you have spent that money from a CIP perspective over the last, shall we say, 10 years, and then what your plan looks like for the next 5 as well. We want to be able to analyze some of that information. That will also then start to give us a really good foundation of where this plan is going. As part of that, whether that be sometime in April or May, as part of that, we want to identify barriers to implementing this, so that you understand as we start to strategically integrate this, that we're thinking implementation. We're not just thinking, oh, you know what, here's our recommendations. How are we going to do it now? Let's make sure that we're talking implementation as well. So we actually have a meeting scheduled at the first part of December, December 5th, I believe. That is to really start to map out what this strategic integration phase looks like for us. But we are committed to full breadth community engagement, park assessments, January, February of next year, and then April or May, really getting into the key findings, improvement plans in April or May.
One thing I would add, members of the board, that you can hear from Mike's responses, we're at a point now where we will be coming to the board frequently. There is data that's been collected. There are really good things to come and report back to the board on. So probably every other month, the board will be receiving updates at this point on the master plan.
Great. Just a couple more things. Kudos to you, sir, and Ms. Mendoza this is like a serious kickoff to the process, and what amazing feedback. 20%, I feel like we can get higher, but there's still a lot of people that have responded. I mean, thousands is a great way to start. Director Aguilar, how much time have we, it's probably in here and I might have skipped it. How much time have we allotted for this process? Or Ms. Mendoza?
Sure. Members of the board, we officially launched over a year ago, but I would say we had a soft launch even a year prior. So we are a couple years in of engagement. 2 years ago, we kicked off the soft launch with GAIN. And there was that general survey that you saw. We had over, I think, 7,000 responses to. So the plan was always to build upon that, do the formal launch a little over a year ago. So in the official phase, probably 18-month period from start to finish or so.
So we have how much more left time that you're allowed?
We are expecting to have this ready to review a draft report in the summer of 2026.
Awesome. Thank you. Chairman.
Thank you. Board Member Barnwell.
Thank you so much. Really outstanding as well. I agree with my fellow board members on the outstanding job that's been done. I have a question. Just the question is for clarification, the level of service analysis. You said that that is one of the next thing that's going to happen. Do you have a time frame for that?
Yes, we are. That's going to be something that we're diving deep into in January, February. One of the things that we have to decide is, what does that look like? What are the metrics? And so I'll give you a really quick example. How much time should it take any one person in the city of Phoenix to get to a splash pad or to a dog park? And we have to decide what those metrics are by using some very specific data that we've collected, but also to start to really understand what the spatial distribution is now. Start to interface that with park assessments, community engagement, and all of that, to start to really ensure that we're doing this for the city of Phoenix. We're not applying what we did for Clark County. Yes, that's a good model, but in Clark County, we decided to do miles. And I've committed to the public that you don't live your life by how many miles it takes for you to get to a splash pad. You live your life by how much time you have to invest in that experience. So we're going to be very diligent as we go through this process. And the idea is once we map it, it's going to really pop in terms of being able to really tell that story at a dog park level, at a splash pad level, at a recreation center level, and so on and so forth.
Great. Thank you, Director Barnwell. Are there any other questions or comments? Well, thank you so much. This was a wonderful presentation, and we look forward to seeing you in the many months ahead. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for all of your time and patience and grace with this process. Great questions, and look forward to many more in the future.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, because we did take items out of order, we are now going to go to item 5B, Parks and Recreation Board Chair nominations. I have sincerely enjoyed being your chair for the past 3 years. It's been a great process, and I can't do it any longer, so that was it. But I do have a motion for an individual that I think would do a great job. He's done it before. So I move that we nominate Tony Moya to become the next chair.
I second the motion.
I've got 2 seconds.
Everybody.
For the minutes, you can choose whomever you'd like to put down. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Congratulations. Now, should I turn the meeting over to him to finish off? He's now the official chair. Okay. I'll go through one more. We now have call to the public. Jerry Van Gass.
Congratulations, Tony. Jerry Van Gass. I spend most of every day driving around to different parks within the system. And the overriding persistent question I'm being asked now is, what is going on at Echo Canyon? People want to know what the status of the trail is and when they can expect to start hiking there again. And the last, I go online every day looking for a new press release, some kind of update. And the last one was October 16th, right after the, it was washed out by the torrential rains. The people, they have a right. It's their mountain. They pay for it every year through 3PI. And they just want to be updated. And we've got the influx now of winter visitors. and the place is always packed. So consequently, being closed impacts over at Pahastua and other trails. And there doesn't seem like there was any contingency plan for anything like this. And that's not acceptable. But this Grand Canyon, after that huge fire ripped through there, it was still burning as they started restoration where it began. I'm not seeing that here. And people have a right to know, not just the people, your rangers are asked every day, and they're not being updated. We've got to stop that. And the people have a right to know what's going on. It's the most iconic feature of the whole park system. So let's see if we can do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just as a reminder, because that item is not listed on the agenda, unfortunately, the board cannot respond directly. We will now move on. I don't think we have any other speakers here. We will now move on to board report. This one is a bittersweet report. Today we will be saying farewell to one of our esteemed colleagues who has been on the board for 10 and a half years. I want to say that we wish you well. You've brought a tremendous amount of insight and knowledge, and we've really appreciated having you as a part of this board. I have to limit my comments there, and then the next agenda item, my fellow board members will be able to praise you as much as they can, Drina, but you've been a wonderful asset. So thank you so much. We wish you well. Okay, and with that said, my fellow board members.
Thank you. Ditto, exactly, Dorina. I've always appreciated your knowledge and everything you brought to this board. But most of all, what I appreciated as a native Phoenician was your love of the city. And I think that's why you're here, and the love of the parks, and that's why you were here. I will tell you, I was at the Noche en Blanco, and I know you're associated with them. To me, that was the best ever. And thank you in part for all your work. I know you're not going far. I know you're going to be committed to the city in other ways. But again, thank you for all that knowledge you brought. And I enjoyed working with you. I enjoyed knowing you and getting to know you. And I think that will continue because, well, I'll probably be leaving the country within a couple of years. So, but we'll still have time. Thank you. And again, thank you for your love of the city.
Board Member Bustamante.
Well, I'm going to try not to cry. I could have had a 10-and-a-half-year-old child with all the years that we've spent together. It is bittersweet, Kelly, our chairwoman. I'm going to miss this so much. I'm so proud of the work that we've done together. I'm so happy to have gotten to know so many staff. You know, I've worked with so many of you guys in my regular life. Director Aguilar, I've watched you come up in your career. Your previous directors are mentors to me as well. You and your staff are just world-class, intergalactic, amazing. It has been an absolute honor to be here and serve at the pleasure of Mayor Greg Stanton and now our current mayor, Kate Gallego, who has appointed me to the Sister Cities Commission. So I'm still very involved and passionate about and committed to the city of Phoenix. Live, work, shop, play, everything. I'm all in. But you're stuck with me. Please feel free to call on me for anything, any public comment, any projects, any task force, just keep me in the loop. And yeah, it's been an absolute honor. And I would love to take a picture with all of you at the end of this meeting, like the police, the AV guy, up here, if we may, Chairwoman, and everything you said. Chairwoman is absolutely touches my heart. Tony, and an honor, everyone on the phone. I'm sorry that Sarah's not here. And sir, I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to work together more, but you might see me in the audience in the future, so you better watch out. Thank you, everyone. It's been truly an honor. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You have definitely made your mark. We will miss you. Okay, and with that,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
One more thing. I want to thank you, Kelly, for your 3 years of leadership. I know it always hasn't been easy, but you maintain your cool up here. And I, for one, appreciate your leadership. And again, 3 years is a long time. It's a lot of work, contrary to what some might think, because you only see us here once a month. But as I mentioned, we're here, we're there, we're everywhere. It's one of the best unpaid jobs I've ever had. And you did an amazing job, and I really appreciate you, and thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much. I learned from the best. Board member Bustamante was chair and you were chair when I started. So I'm leaving it in great hands. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you. All right, director's report. Cynthia, you are up. Thank you.
Sure. Good evening. I'll go ahead and turn it over to Assistant Director Brandy Barrett.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. I'm Chair Dalton, members of the board. I'm delighted to be able to share with you some information and some photos of the annual Nature Fest Phoenix event that was held at Rio Salado last weekend. Attendance at this year's event doubled from last year with approximately 900 attendees. We had 115 folks who participated in a pre-event river cleanup, and they removed approximately 130 bags of trash and invasive species. 45 community conservation partners tabled at the event. For example, our partners, the Arts and Culture Department, sponsored the Art Zone, featuring an artist who led nature-themed relief painting, as well as coordinated the Great Arizona Puppet Theater to provide some shows of Jack Rabbit and the Desert Tortoise and a puppet craft table. Dig It Gardens co-hosted a native seed bomb booth with Parks and Rec, helping families make seed bombs that they could take home and plant in their yards. Attendees also had the opportunity to participate in 2 3K walks for the wild. One was focused on birding and the other on fitness. And also attendees participated in 2 pollinator plantings during the event with 100 pollinator plants that had been donated by Keep Phoenix Beautiful. Advanced U Elementary had their K-5 classes learn about the Sonoran Desert leading up to the event, and they created 5 collaborative art pieces that we were able to display at the event. Want to give a special thank you to the Office of Environmental Programs who spearheaded this wonderful event. We were so happy to have had the opportunity to host again this year. And with that, I'll turn it over to Director Aguilar.
Thank you, Brandy. I just want to spend a minute talking about our leadership changes at the city, which I think most of you will know, but our former city manager and Parks Board member, Ed Zerker, started back as the city manager today. And so I wanted to make sure that the Parks and Recreation Board was aware of that. And then also we have temporarily been assigned to report to Deputy City Manager David Matthews. Dave is the former HR director, a great person, and we will fall under his leadership as the new city manager works to fill some critical vacancies that exist in the city manager's office. Also, Tony, board member Moya mentioned this, but we were celebrating for good reason last month, the grand opening of East Lake Pool. And I thank board member Moya, Mayor Gallego, and Councilwoman Hodge Washington, who were able to join us. And as was mentioned, we are piloting offering swim lessons and open swim for the first time during the month of November. And we have had participants sign up for those swim lessons. So it's really a fantastic thing to see and something that we hope to model at other pools with heaters in the future. Noche en Blanco was mentioned, and especially with board member Bustamante's last day, I wanted to mention that this was an exciting event. The Hance Park Conservancy, all of our partners do a fantastic job. Thank you to Chairwoman Dalton, who joined us at the Parks and Recreation table as well, and to our team who helped make sure that the park looked amazing for this special night with well over 1,000 people in attendance. And that is no easy feat. If you can imagine, we overseed this park and we work on timing the overseeding of both ends of Hance Park to work around all of the events that we host there, and the park really did shine that night. Also, as you can imagine, fall is tree planting season, and so is spring. So just recently, in the matter of a few weeks or a couple weeks here, we planted close to 100 trees at Maryvale, Mountain View, and Cactus Parks. And so we are certainly working to enhance our shade canopy. You heard a little bit about that from Mike Spetz earlier with Pros Consulting, and that's something that we're certainly working towards. And since we will not be meeting as a board in December, but we hope you can join us, and please let us know if you can. We are looking forward to our annual APS Light Parade that this year will take place December 6th at 7 p.m. It is a fantastic event. If you've never been, Board Member Thomas, we'd love to have you. We have a special area that we invite dignitaries and board members to, so please keep us in mind. Also, I wanted to take my own minute just to thank Board Member Bustamante as well. You said 10.5 years, and that was so perfectly aligned because I was expecting my twin daughters who are about to be 10. And so I remember when that occurred, and you have been very passionate and such a tremendous value add to us by having you on this board. And I always say I want your energy when I'm around you. If I could have some of that, it'd be fantastic. But to commit to volunteering to serving on this board for 10 years and always willing to help us in any way, I know we'll continue to work forward together moving forward. And the Sister Cities Commission is certainly lucky to have you. To Chairwoman Dalton, to commit to doing the full 3 years allowed, which I honestly wasn't sure was allowed. I always thought it was 2, and I learned it was 3. I thank you, and I'm looking forward to working forward with Board Member Moya. And Chairwoman Dalton, you handled this role beautifully during challenging times, and we had some along the way. So thank you so much also for your time. We really appreciate it. And with that, that concludes my presentation.
Thank you so much. And as always, I want to say thank you to the employees who are here. This is a long night for y'all, and we appreciate your patience as we ask a lot of questions and all of the great presentations. So thank you so much, and have a good rest of the week. Meeting is adjourned.